यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरदारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 कृष्ण।
जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजा चक्राचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री दिवान जय श्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की
जय।
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
जय।
नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय।
जय।
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। मथुरापुरी धाम की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्याम वेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasa tato jaya mudiraye shunvatam swakatha krishna punya shravana kirtana hradyantasto hi abhadrani vidanoti shvasatam nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki. Hare Krishna to everyone. And today we are reading Canto 1, Chapter 9, text number 5 through 7. So I will read text number 5 3 times, and then you can recite it after that. So verse number 5. Tatra brahmarshayah sarve devarshayascha sattatam rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam. Tatra brahmarshayah sarve devarshayascha sattatam rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam. Tatra brahmarshayah sarve devarshayascha sattatam rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam. Please recite.
Hare Krishna. Tratra brahmarsaya sarve devarsya satam rajarsya tatrasan drashtum bharat pungavam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tatra brahmarshaya sarve devarshayascha sattama rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtam bharata pungavam. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to recite?
Tatra brahmarshaya sarve devarshayascha sattama rajashayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam.
Okay, so let us read word to word translation. Mataji, you want to? Okay, Prabhu. Go ahead, Mataji.
I want to say, I was waiting. Hare Krishna. Tatra brahmarshya sarve devarshayascha sattvam rajarshayascha tatrasan drashtum bharata pungavam. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Tatra means there. Brahma Rishaya, Rishi among Brahmans, Sarve, all. Deva Rishiya, Rishi among the demigods. Cha, and Satatam, situated in quality of goodness. Raja Rishaya, Rishi among the kings. Cha, and Tatra, in that place. Asana, where present. Drashtum, just to see. Bharata, the descendant of King Bharat. Panguvam, the chief of. Translation prepared by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just to see the chief of descendant of King Bharat, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis, amongst the demigods, brahmans, and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. Purport: the rishis are those who have attained perfection by spiritual achievements. Such spiritual achievements can be earned by all, whether one is king or a mendicant. Bhishmadev himself was also one of the Brahmarshis and the chief of descendant of King Bharat. All the rishis are situated in the quality of goodness. All of them assembled there on hearing the news of the great warrior's impending death. So I will read text number 6 and 7 myself, and the translation is very lengthy, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, so I will read that at the end. And that translation is about the description of each and every rishi who were present at where the Bhishma Dev was impending death was there, so he was on the bed of arrow. Lord Krishna and all the Pandavas went to meet him there. And so at that place, it is description of who were the munis, rishis, munis, and everybody else, there. So text number 6 and 7. Parvato narado dhamyo bhagavan badarayana vrahadasho bharadvajah sashishyo renukasutah vasishta indra pramadas trito gat samadositah kakshivana gautamo trischa kaushikotha sudarshanah. So the rishis were present were Parvat Muni, Narad Muni, Dhaumya, incarnation of Vyasadeva. It says Bhagwan Badarayana. So he was incarnation, a literal incarnation of Lord Krishna, Srila Vyasadeva. Vrahadaswa, Bharadwaj, and among their disciples. And says Renuka Sutta, that's Parshuramji. Vasishta, Indra Pramad, Trita, Gatsamad, Asit, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushik, and Sudarshan. So all these Rishi Munis and other people were present there, and many others. These are the main ones. So first we will discuss about 5th shloka, and then we will go to 6th and 7th. Om Adgyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunuritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrashabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the translation to the 5th shloka is just to see the chiefs of descendant of King Bharat, who the descendant of Bharat was the Bhishma Dev himself, So the King Bharat, he was the king, on whose name the Bharat Varsh is kept, So he was a great soul, and Bhishma Dev was born in the dynasty of King Bharata. All the great souls in the universe, named the rishis among the demigods. So there are so many rishis all over the world. So there are rishis among the demigods, also known as Devarshis. Then there are rishis among the Brahmans, known as Brahmarshis. And there are rishis among the kings, known as Rajarshis. So all situated in the quality of goodness. So all the rishis, different kind of rishis, they were all situated they had very great qualities and in the goodness and above the goodness. They were all assembled there. So the rishis, in the purport Prabhupada says, rishis, those who have attained the perfection by spiritual achievement. Such spiritual achievement can be earned by all, whether one is king or mendicant. Doesn't matter actually whether one is king or mendicant, they can still get those qualities of goodness and they can progress. So it doesn't matter whether one has money or not money, they all can actually perform their duties as a devotee, like doing the devotional service. Bhishma Dev himself was Brahmarshi, so he was a great rishi actually, and he knew the supreme truth. Lord Krishna is the supreme truth. He knew that very well. And all the chiefs are descendant of King Bharat. All the rishis are situated in the quality of goodness. All of them assembled here, hearing the news that Bhishma Dev is going to leave his body at this place on the bed of arrow in the Kurukshetra. So they came. So first of all, I would like to read a little bit about what are the different rishis actually, and what is the definition of rishi. Prabhupada wrote the rishis are those who have attained perfection by spiritual achievement. So rishis have seen, what is the rishi? Rishi darshanat means they have seen the truth, spiritual truth. One who has seen the spiritual truth are the rishis actually. So rishis are actually accomplished and enlightened persons. They are not simple devotees, they are very great people. Rishis have composed hymns of the Vedas. Actually, all the rishis actually, they composed the different hymns for the Vedas. Then they are also great yogis, and they are sages, and they have done intense austerities, tapasya, and they have realized the supreme truth and the eternal knowledge. So these are the different rishis. Now, someone may ask, who is the Muni then? Maunam acharati iti munihi. So one who maintains the vow of silence to prevent distractions during their tapasya, or when they do their sadhana, they keep monobrat, silence, vow of silence. So those are the Munis. And there is Maharshis. Maharshis are rishis who is very great in spiritual endeavors. So some rishis are known as Maharshis. And the Rajarshis, as Prabhupada said, Rajarshis are the king. They are the kings actually, Raj and Rishi. So they are kings also, and they were rishis also, like Janak Maharaj or Ambarish Maharaj, they are Rajarshis. Then Devarshis, they are the rishis among the demigods. No, Devarshis are rishis who are the rishis who are dwelling in the heavenly regions. They live in the heavenly regions. So they are devatas, demigods, and who are also rishis. Now Brahmarshis is like Vishwadev, he is Brahmarshis. It's written in the purport that he is one of the Brahmarshis. So Brahmarshis, Param Brahma Shakshat Pratavan Rishi, a rishi who has seen the supreme spiritual truth. So that's a Brahmarishi. And who is the sannyasi? Sannyasi has given up everything of this material world for the purpose of attending supreme. So these are the different definitions for the different kind of rishis, actually, rishi munis or sannyasis, whatever. So let us go back a little bit, what is going on here. Like after the Kurukshetra war, then coronation of King Yudhishthir was done in Hastinapur. And at that time, Bhishmadev was lying on the bed of arrow and on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So he was still on, because Bhishmadev actually got the boon from his father, Shantanu, that he will have the boon of Ichamrityu. Like whenever he wants to die, he will die on his own will, not like he will die by the, by the will, anybody else will, he will die on his own will actually, so nobody can kill him actually that way. Like, so when he was on the bed of arrows of Arjuna, at that time, Lord Krishna actually thought that Bhishmadev was pure devotee of Lord Krishna. And Krishna knew that because Krishna is situated in his heart. But he made the Bhishma Pratigya that he will be with the king. He will support the king who is sitting on the Hastinapur. So when the king was Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, at that time, actually he unwillingly supported them because he made the vow that he will support. But he was actually favorable to Pandavas, and he knew very well that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually, then Yudhishthira Maharaj became the king. At that time, he did the Rajsuyagya and everything. And after that, actually, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually was thinking about, just after his coronation, he was thinking that so many millions of people, soldiers were killed in the battlefield, and just for this, like getting the kingdom, so this was not worth, he was thinking guilty inside himself. And Lord Krishna, as a supreme soul in the heart of Yudhishthira Maharaj, knew this very well, that and he could have actually easily pacified him, and told him, because he gave knowledge to Arjuna why he could not give to Yudhishthira. But actually Lord Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishmadev, that Bhishmadev has superior knowledge and excels in knowledge, even his own knowledge himself, he excels, Bhishmadev excels. That's what he wanted. So he wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas and everybody else to come to the battlefield at the last moment. And because Bhishmadev has the will that when I die, Krishna should be in front of me. So Krishna tried to fulfill his desire, and he came in front of him, and he was staying there, and Bhishmadev was looking at Radha Krishna at the end of his life, while he was passing away from his body. So this was great death, and all the Pandavas actually came to him and took the knowledge from him, and Lord Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishmadev. Krishna knew very well that that Bhishmadev is so much affectionate to Pandavas, and to please him, he had Yudhishthira Maharaj that, okay, you go in the procession, lead the royal procession to the battlefield from Hastinapur, go to Kurukshetra. And so they all Pandavas with their royal procession, they had marched to the Kurukshetra, and there actually they offered the obeisances, because Bhishmadev was on the bed of arrow, so he could not stand up or get up, and to receive them. But he received them with very sweet words to everyone, Lord Krishna and the Pandavas and all other rishis and everything. So he was so humble by presence of everybody, including Lord Krishna, and he spoke in very sweet and humble words. So everybody was happy with Bhishmadev that way. And many numerous Brahmins came also. Vyasdev came, Dhaumya Rishi, who was the Raj Pandit for the Pandavas. Lord Krishna was there, and so many different, like Narada, Sukadeva Goswami, Vyasdev, everybody was there. Parshuramji was there, and they were all getting out of their chariots, and Bhishmadev received them with his smile and very sweet words to each and every one. And Yudhishthira, so Bhishmadev actually told them that actually great injustice, terrible injustice happened to you Pandavas, because you have suffered so much, and along with your mother Kunti. So he was feeling sorry actually for all those things what happened to him. And the Brahmanas and religious principles, you were saved in each incidents, whose mercy they were saved by Lord Krishna, because Krishna was with Pandavas all the time actually, and whenever they called him, he came right away for help. Like Draupadi's Chirharan, and his sari was pulled by Dushashan, Krishna came right away. When the Durvasa Muni came, asked for the food, for so many of his 10,000 of disciples, Draupadi actually remembered Krishna, and Krishna came right away, and he took only one piece of rice left over in the Akshay Patra, and everybody is satisfied. So when Krishna is satisfied, all the Jiva souls are satisfied, without doubt, So all the Durvasa Muni and all his disciples actually fulfill their stomach, up to the neck, and they run away, because they say, what we are going to eat now, So they run away, they never return back. So this is Krishna's mercy, When Krishna is happy, then everybody is happy. So we should actually try to make Krishna happy as much as possible. So actually Bhishmadev got the boon from his father. So Bhishmadev's name in his childhood was Devvrat, and he was son of King Shantanu, and also the mother was Ganga Mata. So one time Ganga Mata, Shantanu has promised that whatever she does, he will not stop her from doing. So she had one after other sons, and so Ganga was actually killing all the sons, and the one time Shantanu was very mad. So he actually stopped her that why you are doing this, why you are killing your own sons, and then Ganga left. But he took Devvrat along with him. And he was actually Devvrat, and Bhishmadev was actually brought up by in the upper planetary systems, with great affection and great care. And he was taught Purans, and so his guru was Vasishtha Muni. And also archery and other Dhanur Vidya was taught by Parshuram, who was the great fighter and great archer. So that way he was trained properly. After that, he came to this material world, and he was actually appointed as to the throne, Yuvraj. So he was Yuvraj for the throne, and he learned all the thing, how to be a king, actually proper king. So he was learning that from his father, and he was capable of ruling the capital. But meanwhile, what happened one day, King Shantanu went in the forest, and he was carried away by the beauty, and he fell in love with Satyavati, who was the king of Matsaraj, So then Shantanu met with the father of the Satyavati, but his father said that Satyavati's son will be the king, not the Bhishmadev's son, not the Bhishmadev. So the king, knew that Bhishmadev is already appointed as Yuvraj, so he didn't want it to disturb him, or make him mad. So he returned back, but he was thinking all the time about Satyavati, and he was depressed, and he was not taking interest. So Bhishmadev, as Yuvraj, he knew, and then he tried to find out what is the cause of my father's depression, why he's not happy. So he ultimately found out, and he went to meet Satyavati's father, and he talked to him, and he said that I will not be king, let Satyavati's son be king, I promise you that. But then he said that it will not work, because then your children will fight, and Satyavati's children will fight for the kingdom, and I don't want to do that. So I will not agree with that. So then at that time, Bhishma Pitama said that I will not even marry, so I will not have any child. And so there will be no fight for the kingdom. So he took the Bhishma Pratigya in front of all the devas and all the population, that I make promise that I will not marry. So he actually kept that vow for not getting married. And he also took vow that he will be with the king, who is on the throne. He will help him. So that was so he kept actually celibacy all along his life, actually. So on the throne, actually, he had half brothers, with the same father, Chitrangada and Vichiravirya. And he brought them up, and made them capable of ruling. And then the rule went, to all the Pandu, and then the Dhritarashtra, and then Dronacharya, and the Duryodhana, so all went like that. So this is the background history, how he did tapasya. And when Bhishmadev actually made the vow of celibacy, Bhishma Pratigya, at that time his father actually blessed him that you will have Ichha Mrityu, that whenever you want, you will die. So Bhishmadev was actually waiting for Akshaya Tritiya day, when the sun starts going to the northern hemisphere, that shook time, actually. So he was waiting for Akshaya Tritiya, and when Akshaya Tritiya came, then he actually left his body, and Krishna was present in front of him, and all the Pandavas and all the Rishi, Muni, everybody was present there. So it was very nice environment and very perfect death, actually, So I will read now the 6th and 7th verse, and we will read about all the Rishis, Muni, their characteristics and who they were, and what is the importance of Rishi. But before that, I will like to read little bit and discuss little bit about Srinivas Pandit, because today is the appearance day of Srinivas Pandit. Srinivas Pandit's appearance is on Ashtami Tithi in the Krishna Paksha of a month of Chaitra. So that is today. And Srinivas Pandit was very important personality in the Gaur Leela. And because he assisted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his pastimes in the Navadvip Dham. So that is the greatness. And who was Srinivas Pandit? Srinivas Pandit was Narada Muni, who always sings the glories of the Lord 24 hours. He goes from one place to other place and always chanting, remembering Krishna, glorifying Krishna, and preaching to so many people, making them devotees. So Narada Muni came in the form of Srinivas Pandit. So Srinivas Pandit is so important because without the mercy of Srinath, without his mercy, the Sankirtan movement, which we are seeing now, we are part of that, will not start actually, because it started at the house of Srinivas Pandit, Srinivas Angan. All the Leelas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started Sankirtan movement there. He will collect all his intimate devotees, and they have the Kirtan whole night at Srinivas Angan. So that was the glory of Srinivas Pandit. And so many other Leelas also happened at Srinivas Pandit's house, like Chand Kaji came to Srinivas' house, and he said that you make so much noise because so many people around the house, make the complaint that there's so much noise comes, they cannot sleep. So Chand Kaji came actually, and he broke the mridanga in Srinivas Thakur's house actually. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually made a procession, disobedience order, disobedience parade, and then they went in so many thousands and thousands of people went in the procession and went to Chand Kaji's house. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually told Chand Kaji that that Sankirtan movement should continue, it should not stop. So Chand Kaji promised him that not even me, my all generations, will follow this, that nobody will disturb the Sankirtan movement. So today also Chand Kaji's descendants are there, and they still favor the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And since at that time, nobody stopped the Sankirtan movement. Also, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Mahaprakash Leela, where he called each and every of his intimate disciples and friends actually, in devotees, and then told him, what way so just all internal leelas. Even the devotees didn't know about that thing, but he invited all the people. Like when Haridas Thakur, he invited Haridas Thakur, and he told Haridas Thakur that how you tolerated all the whips, in 22 marketplace. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his back, that I was covering your body, so you don't get those whips, And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his back, all the marks of those whips were on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body. So we can see, how merciful Lord is to his devotees. He also called Kola Vecha Sridhar, who all the time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was playing with him, that you are charging me too much money for the bananas and banana leaves, you should give me in half price. And the Kola Vecha was so poor, he had his house was just like from the straw, and the water was leaking, from the roof. And he had no pots, even, broken pots he was eating, he had no money. Whatever he was earning, half of the money he was giving to the Ganga Mata's the seva. So he had no money, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that, but he was just kidding with him, playing with him. And so in Kola Vecha Sridhar was called in the Mahaprakash Leela, and he asked for the boon, so he asked the boon from all the devotees. So this Mahaprakash Leela actually took place at the house of Srinivas Thakur. And one time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Srinivas, that you should work a little bit, at least for a few hours, to maintain your family. But Srinivas Thakur has so much firm confidence in the Harinam that Krishna will fulfill all his needs, why he should work actually. So when he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that I will actually stay hungry and continue my chanting and my kirtan, and if second day also I don't get it, I will continue third day like that, and still, I didn't get anything. That at that time, I will go and kill myself in Ganges, So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that he has so much faith in Krishna's name that Krishna will fulfill, whatever he needs, So if somebody is very pure devotee, Krishna will take care, whatever is lacking, Krishna fulfills that. He made promise in Bhagavad Gita. So one time actually, his son died, Srivas Pandit's son died, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and everybody else was in the deep kirtan, and nobody knew, but Srivas Pandit heard that his wife and all other ladies were crying. So he came in the kitchen and he actually told everybody that I will kill myself, if you keep noise, everybody be silent. We don't want to disturb the kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, So, but kirtan went on for some time, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a super soul, as a Paramatma in the heart of Srivas Pandit, he knew that something is not going right, So he came out of kirtan and he found out, and then at that time, he told that why you didn't tell me, and he said that I didn't want it to disturb your kirtan. So we can see that how great devotee Srivas Pandit was, in today's tithi. So we should remember him and try to learn from his life, how much faith we should have on the Krishna's name and how we should perform bhakti. And so now I will read text number 6 and 7, translation and purport. Today we will end. All the sages like Parvat Muni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyas, the incarnation of God, Bhishmadev, Brahadushva, Bharadwaj, and Parshuram, and disciples, Vasishtha Muni, Indra the Tirth, Gratmath, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushik, and Sudarshana were present. So Sri Prabhupada actually goes on describing each and every Rishi. So about Parvat Rishi, it's written that he is considered one of the oldest sages. He is almost always in constant companion of Narad Muni. They are also spacemen, competent to travel in the air without the help of any material vehicle. So Parvat Muni, Narad Muni were actually very good friends, and they were actually traveling everywhere together, most of the places, like when they came to Magrari, and Magrari was offering Dandvat, but then he saw so many ants on the ground and he was actually trying to stay away from those ants, he was cleaning the ground, So then Parvat Muni said that, see how much the Magrari learned from you, Narad Muni. So he was glorifying Narad Muni that time. So Parvat Muni and Narad Muni was companions. Parvat Muni is also a Devarshi, a great sage amongst the demigods, like the Narad. He was present along with Narad at the sacrificial ceremony of Maharaj Janmejaya, son of Maharaj Parikshit. In the sacrifice, all the snakes of the word Janmejaya wanted to take the revenge, so he wanted to call all the snakes, and burn them in the fire. So that was going on. Son of Maharaj Parikshit. In the sacrifice, all the snakes of the word were to be killed. Parvat Muni and Narad Muni are called Gandharvas also because they can travel in the air singing the glories of the Lord. Since they can travel in the air, they observed Draupadi's Swayamvar ceremony, selecting of her own husband from the air. Like Narad Muni, Parvat Muni also used to visit royal assembly in the heaven of King Indra. As the Gandharva, sometimes he visited the royal assembly of Kuvera, one of the important demigod who is the demigod for all the wealth. Both Narada and Parvat were once in trouble with the daughter of Maharaja Sanjaya because Maharaja Sanjaya got the benediction of a son by Parvat Muni, but instead he got a daughter, and so there was some discrepancy, and then he was changing the sex, from male to female, like that periodically. So Narad Muni is inevitably associated with the narration of the Puranas. He is described in the Bhagavatam. In his previous life, he was the son of a maid servant. But by good association with pure devotee, he became enlightened in devotional service. In the next slide, he became a perfect man, comparable with himself only. In the Mahabharata, his name is mentioned in many places. He is principal Devarshi. Narad is known as Devarshi. In Mahabharata, his name is mentioned in many places. He is the principal Devarshi or the chief sage amongst the demigods. His son and disciple of Brahmaji. He is the Manas Putra actually. And from him, the disciplic succession in the line of Brahma has spread. So Brahma, then Narada, and then Vyas, like that. He initiated Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj and many celebrated devotees of the Lord. He initiated even Vyasdev, the author of the Vedic literature. From the Vyasdev, then Madhavacharya was initiated, and thus the Madhav Sampradaya, in which the Gaudiya Sampradaya is also included, has spread all over the universe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belonged to Madhava Sampradaya before Brahma. Therefore, Brahmaji, Narada, Vyasa, down to Madhava, Chaitanya, and Goswamis all belong to the same line of disciplic succession. So we come in this disciplic succession of Narada Muni actually. Naradji has instructed many kings from time immemorial. In the Bhagavatam, we can see that he instructed Prahlad Maharaj while he was in the womb of his mother. He took Prahlad Maharaj's mother to his ashram and he was teaching them the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Prahlad Maharaj actually heard everything in the womb actually. And he instructed Vyasdev, the father of Krishna, as well as Maharaj Yudhishthira. So we can see how Narad Muni was great. Dhamma Rishi is a great sage who practiced the severe penances at Utkokak Tirtha and was appointed royal priest of the Pandava kings. He acted as the priest in many religious functions of Pandavas. In the sanskaras, different sanskar they do. So he was present there, and the priest in many, and also in each of the Pandavas was attended by him at the betrothal of, instructed them how to, and he also instructed them how to live incognito for 1 hour, because after 12 years in the forest, then one was, then he has to live 1 year in incognito. So he taught them, to the Pandavas, Dhamma Muni, that how they can stay incognito and not be recognized, So that was his instructions. His name mentioned also in the general funeral ceremony was performed after the battle of Kurukshetra in Anushansa Parva of Mahabharata 127, 15, 16. He gave religious instructions very elaborate to the Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was actually the right type of priest, of a householder, for he could guide the Pandavas on the right path of religion. A priest is meant to guide the householder progressively in the right path of ashrama dharma. So these different ashramas, so the priest actually should teach the population then how they can follow the different ashramas. So that is the duty of the priest actually. And Dhamma Rishi was actually following this, he was the priest of Pandavas, and in every step he was helping them. So this is the occupational duty of particular caste. There is practically no difference between the family priest and his spiritual master. The sages, saints, and Brahmins were especially meant for such functions. Now we are reading the Bharat Badrayan, that is the Vyasadeva. He is known as Krishna Dwapayana, also known as Satyavati Sutta because his mother was Satyavati. Parashaya and Parash Srat Maj, Badrayan, Vyasadeva. So there are different names. And he was the son of Mahamuni, Parasmuni, Parasharmani, in the womb of Satyavati. So he, prior to her, brought her eight Maharaj Shantanu. So actually, he was son of Satyavati. This Vyasadeva was son of Satyavati, but he was born before Satyavati was married to Shantanu. He is a powerful incarnation of Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan, and he broadcasted the Vedic wisdom to the world. As such, Vyasadeva is offered respect before one chants the Vedic literatures, especially the Puranas. Shukdev Goswami was his son, and Rishi like Vaishyapayan were his disciples for different branches of Vedas. He is the author of great epic Mahabharata and great transcendental literature, Bhagavatam. So all the Puranas and all the Bhagavatam and the Vedanta Sutra, everything was written by him. So that's why they are known as Badrayana Sutras. They were compiled by him. Amongst sages, he is the most respected author by dint of severe penances. When he wanted to record the great epic Mahabharata for the welfare of all people in the age of Kali, he was feeling the necessity of a powerful writer. Who could take up his dictation. By the order of Brahmaji, Shri Ganesh took up the charge of noting down the dictation on the condition that Vyasadeva could not stop dictation for a moment. So this was the condition put by Ganeshji, that you have to continue speaking. You cannot stop. Once you stop, I will stop writing, and then I will not write. So Vyasadeva actually spoke whole Bhagavatam on that condition, and that was the written form of Bhagavatam. The Mahabharata was thus compiled by the giant endeavor of Vyasa and Ganesh. So if you want, I can continue reading, but otherwise, I can answer some questions and we can end there. So it's up to you. Please tell me what I should do, because it's more 3 pages, more than 3 pages more. So either you can read
okay.
yourself.
If you are okay with it, Prabhu, we can continue reading.
Okay. So next is Brother Swaha, an ancient sage who used to meet Maharaj Yudhishthir now and then. First of all, he met Maharaj Yudhishthir at the Kamyavan. This sage narrated the history of Maharaj Nal. There is another Brahadosha who is the son of Ikshvaku dynasty. Mahabharata, Vanaparva. Now the description of Bharadwaj Muni. He is one of the 7 great rishis and was present at the time of birth ceremony of Arjuna. The powerful rishi sometimes undertook severe penances on the shore of Ganges, and his ashram is still celebrated at the Prayagdham. He is learned that this rishi, while taking bath in Ganges, happened to meet Grutchi. That is one of the beautiful Apsara from the heaven. And thus there was discharge of the semen of Bharadwaj Rishi, and it was kept and it was preserved in the earthen pot, and from which Dronacharya was born. So Dronacharya is son of Bharadwaj and this Apsara. Others say that Bharadwaj, the father of Drona, is a different person from Maharshi Bharadwaj. So Prabhupada wrote it like that. So nobody knows the actual truth, that his Drona's father Bharadwaj was different than this Bharadwaj Rishi. He was a great devotee of Brahma. Once he approached Dronacharya and requested him to stop the battle of Kurukshetra. Now the Parshuram, also known as Renukasut because his mother was Renuka. He's the son of Maharshi Jamadagni and Srimati Renuka. The Renuka temple actually is near the new temple, which we inaugurated last month. It's only 2 kilometers from there, where Renuka temple is there. So Jamagdev Muni's ashram was there, very close to Narmada, and their whole lila happened, and Jamagni Muni requested his son Parshuram that you kill Renuka, and Renuka was killed there. And later on, he asked that Parshuram actually asked the boon from his father that his mother was again get the life, so she got the life again, so she was not actually killed forever. And so the temple is there in Madhya Pradesh. Thus, he is also known as Renuka Suta. He is one of the powerful incarnation of the God, and he killed the Kshatriya community as the whole 21 times. With the blood of the Kshatriyas, he pleased the soul of his forefathers. Later on, he underwent severe penances at the Mahendra Parvat. After taking the whole earth from the Kshatriyas, he gave it in charity to Kashyap Muni. Parshuram instructed the Dhanur Veda, or the science of fighting, to Dronacharya. Because he happened to be a Brahmana, he was present during the coronation of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and he celebrated the function among other great rishis. Parshuram is also so old that he made both Ram and Krishna. See, Lord Ramchandra was in Treta Yuga, and Krishna was at the end of the Dwapar Yuga. So there is a lot of years passed by, but he participated in both Leelas actually. He also praised Arjun when he saw him with Krishna. When Bhishma refused to marry Amba, who wanted him to become her husband, Amba begged Parsuram, and by her request only, he asked Bhishma Dev to accept her as his wife. Bhishma refused to obey his order, although he was one of the spiritual masters of Bhishma Dev. Parshuram fought with Bhishma Dev when Bhishma neglected his warnings. Both of them fought very severely, and at the last, Parshuram was pleased with Bhishma and gave him the benediction of becoming the greatest fighter in the world. Now, Vasishtha Muni, the great celebrated sage among the Brahmanas, well known as Brahmarshi Vasishtha Deva. He is a prominent figure in both Ramayana and Mahabharata. He celebrated the coronation ceremony of the personality of Godhead Sri Ram. He was present also at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He could approach all the higher and the lower planets. And his name is also connected with the history of Hiranyakashipu. There was a great tension between him and Vishwamitra. So they had all the time like fighting Cold War, so Vishwamitra and Vasishtha, they had some disagreement among many things. He wanted his Kamadhenu, wish-fulfilled cow. Vasishtha Muni refused to spare his Kamadhenu, and for this Vishwamitra killed one of his 100 sons, his 100 sons actually. So as a perfect Brahmana, he tolerated all the taunts of Vishwamitra. Once he tried to commit suicide on the account of Vishwamitra's torture. So we can imagine, how much Vishwamitra was bothering him. Trishanku, was a person, he wanted to go to Swargalok, and in the Swargalok, nobody can come directly like in this body. But Vishwamitra actually wanted to send Trishanku there, and Vasishtha Muni, telling all the devatas, put him back. So Trishanku is still hanging in between the Arthalok and the Swargalok. So these two, Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, they were all the time, having disagreement. That's why he actually tried to commit suicide, Vasishtha Muni, because he was really bothered by his tortures. But once but all his attempts were unsuccessful. He jumped from a hill, but the stones on which he fell became a stake of cotton, and thus he was saved. He jumped in the ocean, but the waves washed him ashore. He jumped in the river, but the river also washed him ashore. Thus all his suicidal attempts were unsuccessful. He is also one of the 7 rishis and husband of Arundhati, the famous star Arundhati. Now, Indra Pradma, another celebrated rishi. Tirtha, one of the 3 sons of Prajapati Gautam. He was a 3rd son, and his other 2 brothers were known as Ekat and Dvaita. All the brothers were great sages and strict followers of principles of religion. By dint of severe penance, they were promoted to Brahmaloka, the planet where Brahmaji lives. Once Tirtha Muni fell into a well. He was an organizing worker of many sacrifices, and as one of the great sages, he also came to show respect to Bhishmaji. At his deathbed, he was one of the 7 sages in the Varun Lok. He hailed from the western countries of the world. As such, most probably, he belonged to the European country. At that time, the whole world was under one Vedic culture. So, whole earth was same, one kingdom, Chakravarti Samrat, the whole world, earthly planet was under one king, and so he was living in the western countries. Now, Grasman, one of the sages of the heavenly kingdom, he was close friend of Indra, the king of heaven, and was as great as Brahaspati. He used to visit the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and he also visited the place where Bhishmadev breathed his last. Sometimes he explained the glories of the Lord Shiva before Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was the son of Vithahavya, and he resembled in features the body of Indra. Sometimes the enemies of Indra mistook him to be Indra and arrested him. He was a great scholar of Rig Veda, and thus he was highly respected by the Brahman community. He lived a life of celibacy and was powerful in every respect. Asita. There was a king of the same name, but here in Asita mentioned is the Asit Deval Rishi, a great powerful sage of his time. He explained to his father 1.5 legs verses from the Mahabharata. He was one of the members of the snake sacrifice ceremony of Maharaj Janmejaya. So he was present, Asit Muni was present at the ceremony of Janmejaya, the yajna, where he wanted to kill all the snakes. And he was also present during the coronation ceremony of Maharaj Yudhishthira along with other great rishis. He also gave Maharaj Yudhishthira instructions while he was on the Anjana hill. He was also one of the devotees of Lord Shiva. Now, Kukshivan, one of the son of Gautam Rishi and the father of the great sage Chanda Kaushika. He was one of the members of the parliament of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Now, Atri Rishi. Atri Muni was a great Brahman sage and was one of the mental son of Brahmaji. He was the Manasputra. Brahmaji is so powerful that simply by thinking of a son, he can have it. These sons are known as Manasputra, one of the 7 Manasputra Brahmaji, and out of the 7 great Brahman sages, Atri was one of them. In his family, the great Prachetas were also born. Atri Muni had 2 Kshatriya sons who became kings. King Arthama is one of them. He is counted as one of the 21 Prajapatis. His wife's name was Anusuya, and he helped Maharaja Parikshit in his great sacrifice. Now the Kaushik Muni, one of the permanent rishi or member of the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthira, he sometimes met Lord Krishna. There are several other sages of the same name. So there are several Kaushik Munis. And at the end is Sudarshana. This wheel, which is accepted by Lord Krishna, the Sudarshan Chakra, head, Vishnu or Krishna, as his personal weapon, is most powerful weapon, greater than the Brahmastra or similar disastrous weapons. So Sudarshan Chakra is the most powerful. In some of the Vedic literature, it is said that Agni Deva, the fire god, presented this weapon to Lord Sri Krishna. But actually, this weapon is eternally carried by Lord. Agni Deva presented this weapon to Krishna in the same way as Rukmini was given to Maharaj, by Maharaj Rukma to Lord. So actually, Lord is the original person. So everything, what he has were present before, it may be given later on by Agni Deva, but it is eternal weapon which Lord carried millions and millions of years ago. The Lord accepts such presentations from his devotees, even though such presentations are eternally his property. There is an elaborate description of the weapons in the Adi Parv of the Mahabharata. Lord Sri Krishna used this weapon to kill Shishupal, a rival of the Lord. He also killed Shalva by this weapon. And sometimes he wanted his friend Arjuna to use it to kill his enemies. Mahabharata, Virat Parva 56.3. So this is the end. And I will end here. If somebody has any comments, questions, then we can discuss that. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for reading all those details. Always good to listen about all these great personalities first thing in the morning. That is the purpose of Bhagavatam class. Thank you very much for that. And also welcome back. We missed you over the last 3 weeks.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. If anybody has any questions or comments, or if they would like to add something, please just unmute yourself. Go ahead, Mother Vindhyavali.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. You said Mauni means, they do Maunavrat, is that right?
Yeah, Muni, at the time of Tapasya, it's not like they never talk.
Yeah.
But at the time of Tapasya, when they are doing the tapa, at that time they don't talk, they just want to be silent, so their mind doesn't go here and there. Because we waste so much energy talking, and many times those talkings are not about Krishna, but something else. So that's why Munis do that. They keep Maunavrat.
That answered my question, because Narada Muni goes everywhere, so he cannot be silent anyway.
No.
That answered my question. Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was a nice class. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother.
The one question I had was about one of the Munis, was it what? Vasishta Muni and Vishwamitra Muni, they're always, there was difficulty between both of them and he tried to commit suicide. I thought committing suicide is very wrong. How can somebody so learned consider that as an option?
Because he was bothering him in each and every step, So he was really tired of Vishwamitra, because he was playing tricks, all the time, and disturbing him, so he could not concentrate, So he said it's better to die and take another birth, and then do the tapasya rather than, staying in this body. So that was, I think, what can be done, this is, they are the great rishis, and their life. Krishna is under control, of their lives, and they are so dedicated, so that's where it happened.
They take their duty so seriously of just serving Krishna.
Because he wanted actually to do the austerities and all the tapasya and doing the devotional service, but Vishwamitra was bothering him. So what he can do, he didn't want it to live like that, so that's why he did that. Thank
you very much, Prabhu. So I guess we will end the class here and meet again tomorrow morning at 7:50.
Vansha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnavendati jai.